I've never won a tournament in my life without paying off the judge. We all
Exactly. Look, and apparently cheating gets you the Pro Tour because Bart Van Etten almost got away with it.
what? Oh, was that the
Did
tweet
you read
about
that?
the tweet about the not dead after all?
Yeah, yeah. So he cheated
Whoa,
on camera against Javier Dominguez,
God
and he's like
damn!
a known cheater too.
The cojones on this man.
Well, he almost got away with it, but
Well,
luckily justice prevailed. Justice for Javier always.
just he deserves it. He's worked
He
hard.
does.
Yeah. All right, you want to just get started then? I mean, we've already got
Let
this like good lead. I'm already
yeah,
recording. What do we have to lose?
yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome to welcome to the Comp R.E.L podcast. This is episode 4.
No,
We
no,
on
no.
episode 4,
Is this? I think this is. Yeah, it is
or
episode
is it
four.
5?
Oh, this is embarrassing. Oh my, oh, good heavens! I'm gonna check the
Yeah,
file. Oh, jeez.
I
We've been
haven't been
doing this for
counting.
too
I
long.
can't count higher than 3,
We're all
honestly. So
going
I
senile. Yeah, you're right. This is episode four. You're so smart. That's why you're the.
nah.
That's why you're the
That's why I'm
leader.
the. I don't. Am I the leader?
Yeah.
I try to be. I gotta be. I gotta do something. I gotta
Listen,
contribute something to
I'm
this
just
podcast.
saying. One of us plays Merfolk, and Merfolk won a tournament this weekend. So
Hey, there you go. There you
that's
go.
that
Merfolk did win
means
the tournament.
that means you knew. You knew
I
all
did.
along.
Look, I Merfolk was my dream. I think it was like my dream deck. I want to dream that this deck is going to be good now. Eventually, it should be on paper good, but
Hmm.
now's the time. It's the time to play fish.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately, there's one deck that's really overshadowing that and literally every other deck
You know
that
what?
is in modern right now.
It's the most frustrating part is that people were right. I hate it. I hate that they were right
Yeah,
about this card, and like even LSV was like, "Yeah, this card's busted." And I was like, "Nah, people just run like Unmoored Ego. It's fine. No, you don't need to. Oh, no, this card, it'll never be good." God.
right. Yeah, we were pretty wrong about this card, unfortunately.
Oh my god.
It so should we? So I think that we had planned on talking. Do you want to go in order of tournaments? There's a lot of major tournaments.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the Pro Tour, but we could just start out with the Pro Tour. What do you think?
I think that starting out with the Pro Tour is great because they're the people who know the most what they're doing. I think
Right. Okay.
probably in parentheses. I mean, listen,
Right.
we're not as
So
smart as anybody on here. Okay, I'm just gonna
that's
be. I'm,
very true.
what do you want?
Right. That's very true.
We're
There
just
are
we're
basically there's every single person on this list at the Pro Tour, even the 0-10 lists or 0-5 lists are going to be better imagined than all of us. So
yeah.
um, here, so let's kind of recap what happened at the Tour. So it was won by Simon Nielsen, which is very deserved. He is a great player, obviously been a really, really good player for a really long time. It's been a long time coming. He's top aided basically almost every Pro Tour that he's been at for the last like 3 years or something like that. He's just been in the top 8. He just is consistently one of the best players in the tour. Great
Mhm.
victory. I'm super
And
glad to have
and he's grown out of his man bun era, which is
Yeah, that's key. I think that was really key to his success here at
honestly,
this tournament.
genuinely, like he wouldn't have done it without it. I promise you. It's
He
anyway.
had to take that leap away from the man bun, I think,
Yeah,
and that was really it was literally weighing him down
you know, like
on his
the
head.
like the planeswalkers in like Origins when they like activate their spark. That was him.
Right when he cut his hair off. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
like removed the head, the hair tie. That was it.
right. It
Everybody was
was
cooked.
he
Nobody was winning.
exactly. He got serious. His brain was like full potential. He
It's
had
like,
like the
oh
brainstorm brain.
yeah, I was playing with my hand under my butt the whole time. I'll bring out the second hand now. Yes, you're a second-rate duelist with a third-rate deck. All the good stuff.
Exactly. So there's really only one big story of this tournament, and unfortunately, that is that Bant Nadu and the Nadu decks in general just absolutely dominated. The top 4 decks of this tournament are all Nadu
I
decks.
really wish it
5 of
was.
the
I
top
wish
are
it
Nadu.
was. I wish it was up to interpretation. I really did. I wish that
Right,
like you could draw multiple conclusions, but you just fucking can't.
right, and I think that there's a lot to be said about this because so Rakdos Scam won the last Modern Pro Tour. This is a deck that came to dominate Modern after that. It precipitated a ban of Fury from the format, which, Fury died for grief sins, but that's a whole other conversation. But
Yeah.
there was only one Scam deck in the entire top 8 of the Modern Pro Tour. And the deck didn't change after that, right? It was the same deck, and that
Yeah.
deck just dominated, right?
Right.
And we thought that deck was incredibly good because it had a 55% win rate after being targeted.
Yeah. Not bad.
Not bad. That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty dominant for a
Yeah.
deck at a pro tour. Nadu had, and Frank Karsten put up the win rates for the Bant Nadu decks.
Oh my god.
The Bant Nadu deck had a 59.3% win rate between the 2 days.
And that was with all the people that played
59.3%.
against other Nadu decks too.
Right.
Because
It
it was
was
20% of the field.
20% of the room, and it had basically almost a 60% win
Oh my god.
rate. Its conversion rate was absurd. Its conversion rate was ridiculous. I think Anil Yahi put some statistics in, and I think it was almost above. Like, it was by far the biggest one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, it had based on it had a presence of 20.7%. Its win rate again on day one was like about 58%,
And like
which is nuts.
the thing is about like this is the way the math works out is the higher the percentage of a deck, the harder it is to increase its match win percentage because it starts playing itself. That's why like you'll see some like, oh, a single copy made top 8 that has such a high win percentage. But the deck is so busted anyway that the diminishing returns of having more decks was literally just triumphed by how good the deck was.
Right, which is crazy. And if you look at this, if you look kind of further into Frank Carson's statistics, and you look at the percentages and what decks had a good win rate against it, the only decks that had a positive win rate against Bant Nadu were Living End, which there was only like 3 people on it,
Yeah.
and 4-color Nadu, the other Nadu deck. Those are the only 2 positive win rates of this entire field. I guess you could say Yuta Takahashi with Demir Murktide had a 100% win rate in the one match he played
The
against
one
Bant
dude.
Nadu.
He's out there. He's holding it down. He's protecting our format.
He is truly, yeah. Yuta Takahashi is basically like he's what's a good analogy for that? He's just like holding the wall. He's like
Captain
Aragorn on
America.
Realms. Yeah, he's literally Captain
Captain
America.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, Captain Wizards of the Coast. But people are saying that this is potentially the most dominant Modern Pro Tour deck of all time. People have compared it to Eldrazi Winter. The Eldrazi deck had, I believe, above a 60% win rate. I will say, though, that deck was a lot less percentage of the meta game, and people were not prepared for it at all.
Yeah. I mean,
and this
it's
is a deck
there.
I think everybody expected, right?
Yeah. It's very clearly up there. We have Eldrazi Winter, we have Nadu Summer, Pro Tour Honolulu. Do not research. Like this is another one. This is don't look at Pro Tour Amsterdam. Do not research. Do not
Right.
do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just ignore this. And Shuko, oh my god. My buddy had a foil Shuko and he's like, "Should I sell this?" I'm like, "Dude, just get rid of it. I promise you that this is not going to be a continuous problem. There's no shot that this is surviving in modern."
Right. I think what I'm most afraid of with that, something will be banned from this deck, almost certainly. It would be insane for them to not ban anything. I think the worst thing that could happen is that they wait until August when the actual ban announcement is, and
No.
just allow this to keep happening.
The
That would
problem
be terrible.
the problem is they can't
Um,
emergency ban. Like emergency ban. You want to see the short list of emergency bans in MTG. Emergency ban list. I don't. Oh, I can't find a list of explicit emergency ban. Oh man, I think there are like four cards. Like
right,
I don't.
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I'll
it's
keep
a
looking into it.
it's a very short list. And I mean, obviously, I think again, what I'm really worried that they will do is that they'll try to ban Shuko and not Nadu,
There,
which is just such a bad decision. Like, why? I mean, is the deck nerfed? Yeah. Is the deck still incredibly good because you can just chord for Outriders and core, or like a million other things, or like I mean, people. I've watched Travis Brown play it in Hammer, which is like a weird brew, but I mean, he obliterated me multiple times with it. I mean, there's just a million things that you can do with it, and the deck is just not. The card is just not fun. It was probably one of the most miserable pro tours I've watched. Like, I basically skipped through all of the Nadu matches because it's effectively like watching somebody play solitaire.
God
It's just
damn.
terrible.
Yeah, that's actually the kind of the most depressing part about it is that like if this was like a quick combo and like people knew they were dead, like it would be a lot easier. It's kind of like the KCI mode where like the problem with KCI wasn't that the deck was too fast or too slow, but it would literally make every round go to time and like 20 minutes overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like that on steroids because KCI was good, but it wasn't dominant. And this is not only the best thing to be doing, it also is just completely non-interactive, takes
Yeah.
a million years to resolve the combo, has just enough of a tiny percent chance that you could technically whiff that you have to almost kind of let them do it. But so it ends up taking a million years. And yeah, I mean, this card is just I
Man.
don't understand watching this card play out. I don't understand how they allowed this card to exist. I think that there's just so much wrong with it, right? Like the fact
Yeah.
that it triggers when your opponent targets it is insane. Why does it do that? The fact that it makes everything, the fact that the land doesn't come into play tapped, ridiculous. Why does that happen? Why is that the case?
Yeah.
Like
That's pretty
it's
cooked.
just it's just great. The fact that it has four toughness instead of three, so it can't be bolted. Why? Why is that the case? Right? Like it's just there's
Yeah.
so much wrong with this card.
I mean,
And yeah, we've
I think that the design aspect is like, oh, if it only triggers once, this card isn't that good. But it is that good, actually. Like, it's actually still really good. Maybe it's not
right.
modern playable, but it definitely doesn't warp the format. I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is that they just it seems like they really just don't understand. They don't know what to do with Simic still because either the Simic cards that they printed are either very bad or just the most broken cards possible, right?
Talking about
Like it's
Uro.
either like Uro or Oko, or like, just like Into the West or something like that, like
You
cards that
know,
are just
growth
completely
spiral.
unplayable. Growth Spiral, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Modern or not modern playable, really, but like standard playable, like Growth
Yeah.
Spiral is pretty good. But like, it's just
Yeah.
this
Chinen.
right. But I mean, this ability and the fact that it doesn't even draw cards. It's like the fact that it doesn't say draw. You
Yeah.
can't Bowmaster it. Like it doesn't do anything.
That's pretty cooked actually. They could probably word it so that you could get bowmastered.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it would be pretty wild if they decided to errata it instead. I couldn't
No,
imagine
there's
that they do
no shot
that.
that
Right.
that's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have waxed poetic about about Nadu. I mean, is there anything else you want to say about this deck? It's just it's very hard to interact with. There's really not very good hate for it that makes sense.
And like the
Um,
fact that it's a toolbox deck means that it can actually modify itself to beat hate. There's very
right,
little restrictions in the cards that you have to play. Like you have to play Nadu, you have to play Shuko, you have to play N Outriders and Core. The rest of the deck can be almost whatever you want.
right,
And it's
right,
like, holy fuck.
right.
Where are the limitations?
Exactly. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, the only real stopped, like, the only thing that I saw that was even putting up like any semblance of a fight that looked like the games were even close was the Jeskai control list. And
Hmm.
that deck did not do well outside of Javier Dominguez specifically.
Yeah.
It really, I think its win rate was overall like, let me see, it was the Jeskai control list. Um, Here, let me see.
It was
It
pretty
was like a
low.
49% win rate. Yeah, it was not great. And it did. I mean, it crushed Ruby Storm, which is another thing we should probably talk about because Ruby
Yeah.
Storm did
Much
not do
better. Yeah.
well.
Then
Yeah,
listen. People love the deck. It's a cute pet deck. We were right about something though. Come on.
that's true. That's
I
very
called
true.
my shot. I pointed to the sky.
That's
That's my
true.
one W because I doubted red white energy and that deck is really good.
That's a deck I've fallen in love with, actually. I think more so than Merfolk, which we can definitely talk about.
Yeah.
And a lot of people talk shit about Red White Energy, and I am very happy that Amped Raptor has proven and Guide of Souls has proven to be very
I
good,
yeah.
because
We
that
knew
deck
Guide of
slaps.
Souls was gonna be cooked. We just didn't know how.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Boros Energy decks actually did quite well. There's a list that did from Bora Surigo. I'm not even going to pretend pronounce his name, but not it went 9-1. He died in draft, which is the only reason he didn't get even close to the top 32. But like his deck list doesn't even have Ragman, it just has Ocelot Pride, which I'm not convinced is a better option, honestly,
Yeah,
than
me neither.
Ragavan.
But
Um, I think if it had, I did try. So I really fallen in love with this Boros deck. It's just super fun to play. The energy mechanic is really interesting.
yeah.
I did try this version with Ocelot Pride, and I will say it was better than I thought it was going to be. I think the fact that it's still one, it still has a toughness of one. Like it still dies to Bowmaster and still like dies to turn one Young Wolf or like any just like random turn one
Yeah.
like attack is not great, and it takes a while to get going.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I understand why he probably played it, but Ragavan just is such it's the raw power of Ragavan is just so
I
much
also
better
think
than
that
this.
like Ajani is so cooked. Like I can't believe
Oh,
that it just shoots people. Like
oh yeah,
you can
oh
just
yeah,
shoot somebody. It's actually really insane. This card's really
right.
good. I don't know if we've
It
talked
is
about it.
really insane. Yeah, Ajani has been so impressive. It is honestly, so when I started playing this deck, I was really like, okay, Flage is the primary win, and Flage kills people real fast, right?
Yeah, it
Especially
can.
with especially with another card that we shit on really hard, Arena of Glory, which this deck has two in it.
No. No, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God damn it. We're,
We're just like like I think we're like 1-2 right now with
were
car
we right about anything? God damn it. I mean,
so
oh,
I
that's
I shit
really
on this.
good. I didn't even think
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, I shit on this card real hard, and I will say I still stand by the fact that I do think it's kind of bad, specifically with escaping Flage. It is insane. The fact that you
Yeah.
can just effectively, like, you can put Flage in the graveyard, escape it with haste, deal like either wipe an opponent's board, like deal gain 6, or like potentially just deal 12 out of nowhere
Yeah.
is amazing. It's so good.
Yeah. It's like Croxa vibes of like
Oh yeah,
people used to play like Hall of the Bandit Lord or some shit. Or no, 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 they
right.
couldn't play Hall, but whatever. You know what I mean. It's just Yeah,
Yeah, except the front end of Flayed is just so much better.
yeah,
And it,
for sure.
yeah, and I think the other thing about this deck too, and forgive me for again waxing poetic about this deck just because I played it a lot and I love it. Um, Static Prison and Galvanic Discharge are just incredibly efficient removal spells in
Yeah,
this deck.
man, Static Prison is
And
so good.
and I think it it's kind of wild to me. I see people cutting Static Prison, and I can't. I just can't imagine not running four of
It's
these.
literally ley line binding. Like
Right.
it's
It's very rare that I run out of energy in this deck ever. The only time that ever happens is if you have like multiple static prisons, like three or four going at the same time. And at that point, if you haven't killed your opponent, you've probably lost the game.
yeah,
So like it, you know,
yeah,
um,
man. This is yeah. I mean, this card interacts so well against like the One Ring. It interacts really well against Leyline Binding, any creature, anything. Like it hits anything.
right, right. Static Prison is great, especially in a deck like this too, because the starts are like you have these kind of crazy explosive starts sometimes where you go like turn one Guide of Souls, turn two Amped Raptor, and like turn two Amped Raptor into like either another Amped Raptor or an Ajani. Like if you hit a Ajani, you're just like you're cooking, right? Like
Yeah,
you've got so much energy, you're just like ready to go, and then like turn three Static Prison, whatever it is that they're trying to do to stop you, like start making a bunch of angels and just kill them. It's great. The deck is super fun. I've had a blast playing this deck. I think it's really good. Honestly, it's done well. It's done pretty good. Like can all
yeah.
things considered,
I mean, across all the tournaments, there's always been one. There's tons of them in top 16. There's plenty
Right?
of them in top 8. So
Yeah. Did you want to talk about this mono black necro deck that
yeah,
everybody
this
is in love
was
with?
this was the deck that I was like, yeah, this is gonna be it. This is the best deck. Number one, number one deck. It's gonna crush everybody. It's gonna kill everybody. It didn't. Long story short, it did not do that. But listen, okay, listen. I told you to buy the March of Wretched Sorrow. The card's a quarter. I'm just saying.
Right,
You know how much Soul Spike
right.
is, though?
It's hold up, let me check real
Yeah,
quick. The last
go
time I
look it
checked,
up.
it was like $30 or something.
Oh my fucking god.
$80,
Yeah,
bro?
it's real bad.
What?
Yeah. You just look
What?
at the.
$80?
As an interactive
Oh
part
my
of our show,
god.
you can look at the graph of the value of this card. The normal being
Oh,
$4 for the majority of its lifetime, and over the course of I don't know 4 weeks, it like jumping up to above 50. Yeah, it's like 60. Okay, just 60 for this like
that's so
absolute
ridiculous.
bulk rare from Ice Age. Cold snap.
Cold snap. It's wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So okay. So I will say, like watching the Pro Tour, Soul Spike looked really good
Hmm.
in this deck specifically.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that people are buying it. This deck did also very well. It obviously there were two in top eight,
Yep.
and it had a pretty decent win rate. I think its overall win rate, according to Frank Carson, was a 52%, which is good for the Pro Tour.
Pretty
That's quite
good.
good.
Pretty good.
Um,
Yeah.
it's it's an interesting deck. I tried playing this deck, and it is shockingly hard to play. Necrodominance is a really it like you will kill yourself with the card. Like
Yeah. Oh
if you
yeah.
don't think about it, play it correctly, you'll just die to yourself basically. Like
Yep.
your opponent will lightning bolt on stack or something.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but it's really good. I mean, it felt when it was going and when you like hit a bunch of soul spikes in a row after like going off of necrodominance, the deck
yeah.
like or going off of with necrodominance, like the deck felt extremely good. Like its nut draws were really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, like even with Soren, like just dealing 8 damage is really, really good, and it's like
Oh yeah,
this card is overperforming a lot, and it's very impressive, honestly, especially with
right.
Steel
It's
Trade.
yeah, especially yeah. I mean, in Soren, I really like the inclusion of Soren in Noah Ma's deck, and I don't know, I don't think the Channel Fireball team. So Seth Manfield also played this deck in the top eight, and
Hmm.
I think the almost the entire Channel Fireball team played this deck. And he was playing two copies of Shambling Ghast, which is like, I don't know, I like it seems kind of like cute, I guess. Like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's something. I'm not really sure why these are here. Oh, Phyrexian
right,
Tower, I guess.
right,
That's
yeah,
his
that
combo wombo. He's like, turn one Shambling Ghast, turn two Phyrexian Tower, Shambling Ghast, get a treasure, cast the One Ring.
right,
And
or
that's it.
just Necrodominance, right? Like,
Yeah,
cost the One Ring
true.
more Necrodominance, right?
Yeah.
And it's also pretty good to sack to Flare of Malice, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
mean, not
I
bad.
do right, but I did really watching Noah Ma. So this other deck is not playing the One Ring; it's only playing Necrodominance.
Yeah,
And watch Sorin did work in this deck. It
yeah.
did a lot of stuff. It was
Very
really
good.
impressive. He very quickly flipped it a bunch of times, just with Soul Spikes and like Arch of Reverend Sorrow and all of the life gain that you have in this deck. It's super trivial to flip this card.
Yeah.
And he killed a lot of people just by going face with Sorin.
I mean, this is a very attrition-y card. Like, dog, it's only a -1. You can activate its second ability like 3 times in a row. And if you do, like, you can't lose. I don't know how you lose that game. And like
Right,
the extort is minor, but it comes into play. Like, especially in a deck like this. You got the mana,
right.
and it's wow.
Yeah, yeah, this deck seems really good. It definitely seems beatable and exploitable. I obviously, if you shut off the life gain in this deck, I had someone play a Royal Vortex against me, and I
Hmm.
died so hard to that card.
Not
Uh,
great.
yeah, not great because yeah, I mean, you can't Soul Spike them because you're gaining 4 and dealing 4 to lose 5.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah, it's not
and
really worth.
that right. It's just yeah, they turn off all your life gain. You just die to yourself.
Yeah. And you're a
Um,
mono black deck, so you can't remove the enchantment unless you're playing like that 1 2 mana spell.
right, exactly. And it is pretty similar in a lot of ways to coffers in that it's weak to a lot of the same things as coffers. Obviously, This is much better than coffers. This is just a
Yeah.
categorically much better, more powerful deck. But yeah, it's good. It was really good when I played it.
Yeah.
And it looked really good on camera.
Mm. I
What
think
else do we want to talk about with this tournament?
I want to talk about my favorite deck in the format right now, and it's Eldrazi Tron, and it's only the only reason. Okay, I have a few reasons why I love this deck. Number one, Fortress Sphere, excellent. That's a requirement. But awkwardness, Trinisphere does not work against Delve or Convoke.
Yeah,
In case
yeah,
you did not know, it does not do anything against those spells. Murktide Regent not stopping much there, and same with the uh, Court of Calling.
right. Yeah, which is pretty unfortunate
Yeah,
that it doesn't do anything against Court
when
specifically. That
when they
sucks.
ban Nadu, the Trinisphere is going to be good again. Okay,
Right. Oh yeah.
trust. Yeah, no, but I think this deck with like the whole, mine power plant tower, and then saga, and then labyrinth, and then Eldrazi temples. I almost like the more Eldrazi version, like the Gruul Eldrazi deck that has like through the breach and K command and or sorry, I say K command as in Kozilek's command, not Kolagon's command. Whoops, yeah, that's gonna be not
Right.
gonna be confusing ever in the future.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
that card has been really good, and it probably is just the new K command now. I mean, it's
it's
definitely better than
I'm
yeah,
very
Olgon's
impressed. Honestly, I think we underestimated how much duct taping draw a card to like any spell is like really good.
command.
It's like always the modes are always exile target creature, draw a card, or make guys draw a card, and then you cast your
Right.
big dumb idiot at the end of the turn.
Right. Especially in a deck like this, I think, where you're just making such a trivially large amount of mana, and you really, a lot of times you really are just looking for the one thing. Like the scry 5 draw 1 is actually not terrible.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just really flexible, like it ramps you,
Hmm.
you get rid of stuff, like you can exile graveyards even if you need to. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's
it's just
all
good.
good
It's just a
stuff.
good flexible card in
Yeah.
stuff.
Like
Yeah,
you dumping mana into this and then like, like making four dudes, maybe you just cast an Emrakul. Like, you don't know. It's quite
right,
good. And it adds two types for the promised end. I'm just saying. It's a
right.
it's a kindred spell. Kindred
That's true.
instant. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of I love big mana decks and I love decks like this that are like going over the top with like really interesting spells that are new and Trinispheres and One Rings and just, holding out until they die to some Bant Nadu deck. But listen, until then, they're doing sweet stuff.
Yeah, and both versions of the deck actually did pretty good at the Pro Tour as well. Eldrazi actually had a 54.4% win rate, so it was one of the better decks for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
And Gruul Eldrazi had a 51.2% win rate, which is pretty good too.
yeah,
That's not bad.
not bad. I'll be investing in these decks soon
Nice,
when
sweet.
prices are not unreasonable,
$1 billion. Yeah,
approximately. Yeah, I mean,
right.
if we're talking so much about the Pro Tour, I think that one of the most interesting types of tournaments that we saw over that weekend was the East and West Modern Championship at
Oh yeah,
Honolulu. Like they had the
yeah.
most diversity in decks by far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there's like this is like such a common Magic thing that there is 100% like you will sit down at a big tournament in Japan and some dude will sit down against you and he's gonna bring out blue black fairies and he's gonna cast Bitter Blossom against you. And his tokens are OG and they're from Lorwyn and they're so
Mhm.
beat up and you will never beat this man in your life, I promise you.
No,
That
no. He's looked in your eyes and he's already knows what deck you're playing and he knows immediately what the lines are.
he's
Like
like
it
he's
just
like I'm saving my spell stutter sprite for your necro dominance, idiot. You're never going to let it resolve. Like it's and you're just cooked. What can you do? What can you do against something like that? You lose. And
right,
and I
exactly.
think that there were a lot of those people, but instead of playing Blue Black Fairies, they were playing Merfolk because there's like three of them in top 16.
Yeah. So do you wanna go over the so for context, these are two tournaments out of Japan. They're the Haruruya?
Yeah, how to do
Haruruya?
ya? Yep.
Yeah, Haruruya tournaments for there's two different ones in two different places in Japan. They were both massive. One of them, the West Modern tournament, was 144 players. The East one was 289. And they both, and again, like you said, I mean, they're both pretty diverse. So do you want to go over the West one first? That one was
Yep.
the one that happened
Yeah.
first. And for context as well, these happened before the Pro Tour as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'll just
yeah, this is
read down the top eight because I think that's the most interesting thing because we have unique
right.
decks all the way down. We have Mono Black Necro Dominance, Eldrazi Tron, Blue Eye Control, Boros Energy, Mono Red's Prowess, Jeskai Wizards, Jeskai Energy Control, and then it's Valakut, four color Valakut, and then Amulet Titan for the last top eight deck, which is, man, I can't believe somebody's still playing Amulet out there. God bless Atsushi
I mean,
Kajimoto. God
I
bless
mean,
him.
look, I think Amulet's probably still good. I mean, well, okay. If you click on this Amulet deck,
Oh my
you
god,
will
there's
see
Nadu's in
why.
it. Oh, we've been
It's
misled. He's playing
it's just
Nadu.
a
He's playing
yeah. Surprise! It's
Springheart
just a naughty.
Nantuko and Bristly Bill.
Yeah,
Son of a
surprise! It's
yeah,
just a naughty
god dang,
deck.
we
You're
just
just
got
playing naughty
clowned on.
yeah, we
That's
got twerked
funny.
on by this deck.
That
It's
is
just
so funny. Oh my god.
um.
Yeah.
So, so this is a really obviously really diverse top eight. I mean, eight different decks in this top eight. I Boros Energy again was a top three deck here. This particular build was playing Philia. I am kind of off Philia in this deck. I think it's
The dog.
cool but a little cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the dog is cute. In art as well as the fact that I think it's not that good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can do some cool stuff with it. You make a lot of energy, but it's just not very fast, and it just is it's kind of awkward because like you're flashing it in, but it doesn't have an ETB. Like
Yeah,
it then
it's
you have
like
to attack with it.
I think that people like the idea of attacking with it and it getting rid of a blocker, but I think that
Right.
static prison is just so much more efficient, and you'd
Right.
rather permanently remove something than like be all cute and like, ah, I'm gonna flicker my guy. For 2 mana in modern, like that's cool. You probably could have just played another Amped Raptor and like just dunked on them with that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that seems to be where the deck is going in general. But
Yeah,
I think Felia will have a deck that's good, and just probably not this one.
yeah.
Um.
DNT, here we come. I'm so excited.
Right.
Print
Right. I
Rashad
think
Port in modern, you fucking cowards.
I honestly think that card would be fun. I
Now
think it
print
would be.
Wasteland in modern too.
Ooh, I don't know if we're ready to do
And then ban
Wasteland
Ren and
format.
six.
um,
Turn modern into
so,
legacy.
oh god, yeah. I mean, that seems to be kind of what they're doing anyway. But
Yeah.
another deck here is Mono Red Prowess. I love Prowess. This is a deck that's right up my alley. The deck is going down to 2 Soulscar Mages and going up to and playing 4 Amped Raptor, and
Yeah.
then 4 Unstable Amulet, which I mean, those cards just seem really good in this
Yeah.
deck. Um,
Amulet seems so good.
right, yeah. Unstable Amulet has been really impressive, obviously in the Boros Energy deck. I can imagine it's also very good here. Just being able to like have this other thing that you can do, especially like you play Amulet and then you Underworld Breach, you just kill them. Like
Wow.
it's just this weird, crazy combo kill.
Hmm.
Um, Prowess, another deck that actually did pretty well at the Pro Tour. We saw it dominate a few times on camera. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah. Love to see it.
and Eldrazi we see Eldrazi here
Yeah. Bicep emoji.
too.
Eldrazi back at it. Woo.
Yeah, there's a Karn limiter liberated in this list, making a comeback.
Holy. No way. No. Oh my god. You know how much this card is? Don't get. It's so. This card used to be 50, 80, $60. Guess how much Karn Liberated is? Don't look. It's so
Is it
sad.
10? Is it at least 10?
No, sir. It is 8. It is
Uh,
$8.
uh, God, that's
It-
hurts my heart.
now, yeah, dog. This card was the Chase Mythic.
Right.
Yeah, I
God, that
remember.
sucks.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I remember.
Whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah, you get used to it.
It's. I mean, look, maybe it has a bit of a comeback because it does technically. You can put it under Ugin's Labyrinth. So
I mean, that is cool and all, but have you heard of this card, Devourer of Destiny, that just like is a really, really sweet serum powder?
Oh yeah. Okay, so first of all, this deck is not playing Devour of Destiny, which seems just wrong to me. That just seems incorrect.
Well,
Wait, is it?
the
Oh
one in
no, it
the
is. Never
West
mind.
is. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm wrong. I didn't
Yeah, yeah.
scroll up enough. Yeah.
No, no, no. Yeah. It's
Tell
wow.
me about this card. Tell
It's
me about
so
this card. Tell me
it's
about
so good. Like so number one, the beginning the way this card is worded is so good because you can if you're on the draw and they thought seize you, you get to like act upon that. It's
this.
it's
Right.
it's your first upkeep. It's not the start of the game. You don't make a decision. Like literally, if you're on the draw, your opponent plays a spell and you know what they're on, and then now you get to choose from the top 4 cards, which is like best against them. You're like, this Chalice of the Void isn't actually that good anymore now that he went like, you know, turn 1 tapped land or something, right? Like it's this card's sweet. And obviously the
Right.
cast trigger when you cast a spell exile target permanent, it's that's one or more colors. Is just so good. Like this card's really good.
Right. It's a card that read pretty good. Like it seemed like I mean it is basically just like a Chancellor effect. It is a lot better than I think that a lot of people thought. It's basically just an automatic 4 of in any deck that's playing Ugin's Labyrinth or doing the big mana like Tron stuff. Like
Yep.
you're just playing 4 of them. And it's also just a really really good creature. I mean, the fact that it comes in and it gets rid of whatever, and then it just is a huge body to kill
Yeah.
your opponent is really good.
throw it under Ugin's Labyrinth. It like doesn't even matter. Like if you have multiple of these, it doesn't hurt you. Like you can dig deeper. It's
Mhm.
it's really good. It is very, very good.
Yeah. It-
People, like people. I used to play a lot of Serum Powder, and that card really sucks unless you're like getting cards from Exile. This card is really fucking good.
right. Yeah,
It's
I wonder that is kind of interesting. I wonder if it like you make a case for playing it. I'm thinking of in
Prison
like
Tron.
vintage dredge or like prison tron, yeah, like a prison tron
Oh,
deck where
that'd be yeah.
deck.
Vintage Dredge, like just dig deeper for your bazaars.
Right, yeah,
That'd
like
be
rather than exiling your hands, like you have more, like you're not just like
if
going to
they're
like a
unhinged,
ridiculously
they'd run both.
low. That's true.
Yeah,
I mean that
like
deck did not function without Bizarre back
yeah,
then, but
it's cooking. Yeah,
right. um should we move on to the East Modern
yeah. Please,
Championship?
please. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah.
This top eight is stacked. First of all, it's got Kazuna Kasaka, who has top eighted, I think, like three separate pro tours over the last like couple years.
Only
Um,
three. That's
yeah,
so that
only,
says.
I know he's washed.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
washed.
yeah, yeah, he's washed. Takumi Matsura, who has been to many, many pro tours, and Yuta Takahashi, who needs no introduction if you know anything about Pro Magic. He's a world champion. He's just incredibly good Magic player from Japan, consistently great all the time, basically.
Yeah, and you know what he's playing in his deck? Psychic Frog, dude. Oh my
Hell
god,
yeah.
I'm so happy about this.
Let's talk about this deck because I love it.
Yeah,
And
I
he
love it
played it
too.
also at the Pro Tour and also did quite well with it, actually.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. I mean, so it's a blue black Demir Murktide deck running Tamio, Bowmaster, Psychic Frog, Subtlety, and Murktide Regent. And then like just interaction.jpg. And then man, I really gotta give props to the three deep analyses that are in the deck,
Yeah.
which I assume he is pitching the Psychic Frog, so they're 2 mana draw twos.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
because
makes sense and I think honestly is pretty brilliant, especially in a deck like this where I mean, so Psychic Frog, I mean Psychic Frog is a card I thought was really cracked. It has not made as it's shown up for sure. It hasn't made waves in the way that I thought it was going to,
yeah,
but this seems to be like, I mean, kind of a perfect home for it. I mean,
yeah,
it by itself is just an amazing threat. It fuels your Murktide to come out like really fast. And again, if you enable it with like deep analysis, right, where you're like, you have these cards in your graveyard that you can now flash back.
yeah.
It's just
It's
good. It's really
yeah.
good.
I think that the downside of this card is that it's a 2 mana spell that's a creature that doesn't really interact with the board that much. There's a reason why Orcish Bowmasters is like the best 2 drop in the entire deck, or like why
Right.
Dauthi Voidwalker is. It's because they interact with the opponent so much. But this card is so hard to kill because like
Right.
you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
I wonder how bad my opponent's hand is. Do I spend all three on this Galvanic Blast, or do I spend four? On like, sorry, the Galvanic
Discharge.
Discharge. Yeah, and it's like, how bad does he value this Psychic Frog? And like on defense, like, are you gonna attack a Ragavan into this? Hell no, you're not. Like, what are you gonna
No.
do?
No, yeah, you die.
Yeah.
I will say, with the way that Galvanic Discharge is worded, your opponent has to discard before you decide how much energy is to spend on it.
Oh, I
Which
see.
which I discovered by playing a bunch, like playing against it a few times in Magic Online and putting Galvanic Discharge on the stack. But
Hmm.
your opponent basically has to decide first, which sucks because
They can like,
otherwise I think Second Fraud would be way better.
yeah, I didn't know it was like that. I mean, because imagine this, like, you get to choose after. That'd be so insane. But the fact that they get to decide afterwards is like, oh, then I won't pay any energy. Thanks for the free 3 energy, and it's like, ah, that's so annoying.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is pretty annoying. It does make the I think Psychic Fraud, considering Galvanic Discharge has quickly become like one of the most played removal spells in the format by far.
Yeah,
It Psychic Fraud kind of does get a lot worse, but it did. I mean, I've died to it a bunch of times. Like it gets really big, really fast. It
yeah,
draws a bunch of cards.
yeah,
And I mean, it's pretty easy to go Psychic Frog, like turn two, like dump your hand, Murktide, like attack with it, Murktide turn 3.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
very easy to do.
Yep. And I like that it's playing Tamio. I thought this card was going to be sweet, and I think it is
Yeah.
sweet. And it looks like it's pretty sweet in this deck, so I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, Tamiya's seen a lot of play. It's been quite good. Honestly, the Planeswalker side of it is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was pretty convinced it was going to suck ass.
Dude, it reads like it sucks ass. Like, oh
Right,
man.
right. The plus 2. I mean, I think the plus 2 is does not read very good, but in the decks that this goes into, it does save you like a lot of times. Like
Yeah.
it does end up drawing you a bunch of cards, and the -3 ability on it is actually all very strong.
Yeah.
In the decks that are playing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a really good one drop. It's been really good or shown up a lot. I've been really
And
impressed every time I've
one of
played
its
it.
most powerful abilities, allowing you to play the Tamio out of your hand.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think honestly, most of the flip walkers have been very good.
Yeah.
Honestly, just the fact they're in the multiples and a Johnny, and I again we've already talked about a Johnny, but I think a Johnny's crazy because having it multiples is actually good. Like you kind of
Yeah.
want two Ajani's in your hands because you play one Ajani when you have another one in play, and you flip the other one because it sees like with the legend rule because it
Yeah.
sees another cat die,
Yep.
and then you have two you have both Ajani's going. It's yeah, it's great. It's super awesome.
Yeah. Man, oof, it's easily the best one out of all of them, and it's well, other than like R.E.L and all that stuff. But they've all been really good, minus Grist. So
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Storm at all? Because Storm, I think, again, people like we did talk about it a little bit. People thought that it was going to be, it was
insane.
like people were pretty scared of it.
Yeah.
Um,
But turns out
Clearly that's
sideboard card very strong. Highly
right.
recommend.
Right. Do you think Storm is still like a good deck at this point? Like,
I,
would you recommend people play it?
I don't know. I think that like right now you need to wait. This is like there's when a really good deck like shows up and is very dominant, people are going to definitely gun for it. I think Storm is similar to Dredge in that there will be lulls where people are not prepared for it, and then it will come out of the blue and just dunk on people. But I mean the deck's cheap, but don't buy R.E.Ls right now. This is so expensive. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
goes like $40. Like don't buy that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a super cheap deck minus the R.E.L. So you know what? I encourage people to invest in it and like deal with the R.E.L later. It's like because the deck isn't very good right now. So maybe the card will drop in price a little bit.
Yeah, it does seem like one of those decks that it if you're gonna play it, it's really like you got to play it at the right time. Like I feel like in 6 months, like when people have forgotten about it, people are just gonna start crushing with it because like nobody's playing like Damping Spear anymore, or like it's one of those decks where you have to respect it because it is so powerful, but like you it like you really want to play it at a time when people are not thinking about Storm at all, basically.
Yeah, exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
All right,
Um, this tournament unfortunately was won by Nadu Combo. It's
unfortunate.
just the Nadu deck.
Damn.
um, what do you think is the reason for the discrepancy between like what we're seeing in the like kind of what the Pro Tours results were, where like Nadu just crushed and it wasn't even close, and
Yeah,
like the results of these tournaments,
I think
where is good, but it's not like crushing on the same level.
I think that the difference is that at the Pro Tour, people will be playing what they think is the best deck. Period. And
Mm-hmm.
um and there are plenty of people at the Pro Tour who will be playing the deck that they like the most. But the vast majority of people are there to win because there is such a high prize pool and the player level is so high. And so skill is a very big factor. So, I mean, when it comes to these smaller tournaments with like 200, 300 people, those are pretty big, but the player skill cap for the entire tournament is significantly smaller than the Pro Tour. And the reality is that some of these decks you know, if you are the best player in the room and you play Merfolk, you're probably gonna top eight. But if
Right.
you're a really, really good player and you're on the Pro Tour and you're playing Merfolk, being at a deck disadvantage is a significant disadvantage because everybody there is as good as you are or better than you are.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Yeah.
once you start drawing a card and then realizing, oh, this card's not very good in this matchup, that hurts. Like that one
Right.
card makes a huge difference. And when your opponent draws like a bristly bill and they're like, oh my, here goes my combo, you're like, wow, this fucking hurts. What the fuck?
Right. Yeah, there aren't a lot of free wins at the Pro Tour in the same way that there are like in a random modern tournament, even a big one like this, where like sometimes you just get the right pairings, or like because the metagame is a lot more diverse, or like you said again, like the skill gap between the bottom players and the top players is a lot higher. Where
Yeah,
you're right, at the Pro Tour it's a lot more flat.
yeah. It's terrifying. It really is. That's why people go to the Pro Tour and they play the best deck in the format because they know they need every advantage they can get.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, cool. We had a couple other tournaments on here. Did you want to talk about any of these other ones?
I mean, we can drop by and talk a little bit about the 20K, the MXPC. These
Yeah.
it's small stuff, but we can talk about like this Esper deck, which is actually making the rounds. This deck's doing really well.
Yeah, there was a player. It was Matt Sperling, who is a very well-known draft guy and like extremely good. Magic player, been around the block for a really long time. Plays with Channel Fireball. He went 10-0 at the Pro Tour with this deck, and
God
I
damn.
mean, it's still good. It's still very good.
Yeah.
This deck is almost unchanged but I do think it Buried Alive is a huge upgrade for
Yeah. Honestly, I thought this card would suck. I was so
it.
sure that Buried Alive would never ever see play. But
Hmm.
some of these decks are playing him and they're doing great, and so it's like, man, what do I know? It seems,
Right.
yeah,
I'm Yeah, I mean, if when you're in a position where you're putting Atraxa and Gristlebrand in your graveyard with the intention of like, Goryo's Vengeancing out of like, you just put it on the stack, put those in the graveyard, and you're like, okay, I hope you have an answer for this because like you're dead next turn otherwise,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And I like the psychic frog in Matt Spilling's list a lot. That's really cute.
Yeah,
Card advantage is sweet.
right. Yeah, and Psychic Frog I think does make sense, and it kind of adds a new dimension to the deck. I don't think it really needs a new dimension,
Yeah,
frankly. I think it's just fine by itself. But,
yeah,
I mean, it is cool that he's playing that. Yeah, I mean, this deck is here to stay. It's just really good, you
yeah.
know.
And you know what? It was always good, but I think that this is a very, very good opportunity for it to just kind of come out of its element with like these very minor cards that are actually helping a lot. Like the Surveil lands help this deck a lot, and
Yeah,
it's super good. And now there's running. It's 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 a good deck. We all knew it was a good deck. Happy to see it's doing well.
right. Yeah, I think it's a cool deck. I mean, it's one of those decks where it is doing something really busted, but it seems easy-ish to hate on if you really wanted to, like if it
Yeah.
became that dominant.
Hmm.
Um, but it's cool. I'm fine having a graveyard deck like this in modern. Did you want to talk about Jeskai Controls? So that was the second place list.
Yeah.
Team Handshake was a lot of members of Team Handshake were on this deck as well,
Hmm.
including Javier Dominguez, who top eighted the Pro Tour with it.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't
I
believe
think
that people are playing invert polarity.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
Listen.
So a lot of times, sometimes it's just cancel
Go
that's harder to
ahead.
catch, which sucks.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's 3 mana, you win the
Yeah, like
game.
what if this hits a one ring?
Right, right.
Like how do you
Like
lose?
sometimes if
It's
you pick the, I
commandeer.
mean, Right, exactly. Like I mean, I watched Javier take a Nadu with it, and it just was like so so crushing when he did that. Like he just it just the game was just over as soon as he
Yeah,
took it, and yeah, he it. I mean, I don't think I think it's a deck that it's a card you really don't want a bunch of them in. Like you just want
yeah,
maybe the one in
yeah.
it,
Just to get them
right?
off
Like
guard, just to surprise them a little. Oh,
right.
hey, yo, dude, I hope you got your reading glasses on. We're flipping coins.
Right. This deck unfortunately did not do very well at the Pro Tour, despite people thinking it was really good. I, so okay, the card I think honestly is the best card in the deck is Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah,
Um,
not close. This card's so good.
it slaps. Wrath of the Skies was every time, basically every single time that like I saw somebody draw it on camera, it basically just completely shifted the game back to their favor. It's
Yeah,
incredibly good. It deals with literally everything, and I mean, in this deck, you're most of the time you're just playing it for 2 mana.
yeah,
You know, yeah, Wrath of the Sky is incredibly good.
yeah,
Obviously, God Panic just charges a 4 of.
yeah,
Tune the Narrative. I mean, like really, just as a way to enable Wrath of the Skies is probably worth it. You
yeah.
know,
I mean, it's fine. You'll always hold mana up on turn one anyway. So
right? Yeah, and Flage, obviously, Flage is great. Flage is effectively just the win condition of this deck. Like
yeah,
you don't
I
really win the
was
game any other way.
I was surprised by how good the card is. I genuinely was like worried that the mana cost was too high, but it's such a consistent win condition, and it like is so good when you're behind too. Yeah, the card's a lot better
Yeah,
than I gave it credit.
yeah, it is. I mean, it is really Flage is incredible. And again, like in the energy deck, I mean, I see people cut it, and I don't think I would go down to less than 3 just because it's so strong and
Yeah,
like being able to. I mean, I honestly people bring in hate. Like I've seen people bring in graveyard hate against me just because of Flage because it's
yeah,
so strong. Um,
it is really good.
yeah,
Um,
I mean the fact that it just trades on the front and the back is incredibly good.
yeah, and
It's
like
just really strong.
yeah, and the life gain is so relevant.
Oh yeah, especially in a deck like this too. Like, I mean, this is
Yeah,
kind of the deck. This is the kind of deck that I thought it was going to be good in because it interacts with the board and gains you life, and then eventually kills your opponent. Like this, or kind of like a 4 color type list,
mm,
and it's good here. But I think it's just generally a great card. Like a lot of the mid range strategies, like really, it's really good for mid range and control strategies. Just in general, it's great.
yeah. All right,
Cool.
you want to talk a little bit last tournament about the NRG series, the 10K showdown in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I can't believe
All right.
this went down the way it did.
All right. So this tournament was won by Merfolk, baby.
Oh my god. And not
Merfolk.
only Merfolk, but by Nikachu, the content creator.
Ooh, the Merfolk man
Yeah.
himself. The Merfolk. And I mean, he was playing like he, he was playing. So his list is pretty much exactly what you would expect a Merfolk list to be.
Yeah.
He was playing like like 3 Harbinger of the Seas with 1 in the sideboard in the main, or like 3 in the main deck, 3 Force of Negation, 3 Flare of Denial, 3 Dismember as his like interaction suite. Um, he's playing Rashad Dockhand. I think this card sucks ass. Like
Yeah,
I
it does.
honestly just
It does suck
it's
ass.
just
This card
terrible.
sucks.
Like I mean honestly, the Merfolk has really bad turn 1 cards. Like there's really none that are very good at all. Tide
Yeah.
Shaper is a card that you can play on turn 1, but you don't really want to most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
And
Your
really,
best
the
turn
best
one
turn 1
play
play
is
is
Aether Vial. So
right. Aether Vial on 1 is the best turn 1 play. Honestly, personally, I'd probably just cut the Dockhand and just say fuck it, like
yeah.
like just go up on two drops instead,
Yeah, sure.
and kind of take the L on that. But I mean, again, scoreboard, like he's just obviously like
Yeah.
he's the
Clearly you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because he won.
right. He won an energy, you know.
Yeah, Have you
Uh,
considered the fact that he's the one with the trophy?
exactly. No, literally.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy how it's weird how much of a difference Flare of Denial and Harbor of Disease makes in that you just get so many random free wins from it.
Yeah.
This deck is so weird in that it feels every card feels so bad, but then you just like because you're like, okay, like your opponent is like, okay, like turn one grief scan me. You're like, okay, I guess I'm dead. And then you just like win the game still for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you
it's
can.
really weird.
Mm. It's it's sweet. I love the deck, and I'm very happy to see it's doing well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's this is a cool list. And watching Nikachu's games was great. He's still a showman even when he's playing a paper modern tournament.
Yeah,
Um, you know. Um, some other decks in this top eight that are not very like not very particularly interesting, but I guess interesting in the fact that like, it's
they did
that they're still
okay.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Domain Zoo. This
yeah,
is just Domain Zoo. It's
yeah.
it's literally just
They run
the
an inning
same deck.
schedule. Let me check. Oh, they're
There's
running.
consigned to memory in this title.
They're running
That's
a
it.
Johnny.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even see that.
It's not
Okay.
for a Johnny
Okay.
or anything though. They're running two of them. So like, come on.
Right. I mean, look, it's a new card. I'll
Yeah,
take it. Like,
yeah.
I
That's
mean,
true.
I can't imagine a Johnny is like. I mean, Neshoba Brawler is better. I mean, I guess Neshoba Brawler just like is
Nashova
has
Brawler's a cat warrior. Flips a Johnny.
so is Wild Nicottle.
Yep, that's true. That cat tribal, it unveils itself. It's
That
real.
actually is would be pretty funny if that
Activate
was.
my Mutavault, bolt it to flip my Ajahn. Like that's a really bad idea. Don't do
No, it's
that.
a terrible idea. Yeah, but look, I mean, and also like I mean, Domain Zoo I think had like two players, but it had like a pretty very high win rate.
Yeah.
Like it actually did pretty well.
This is the example of not many decks, but one of them did really well, or both of them did really well, and so win rates just through the fucking roof.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, going Leyline of the Guild Pact into Sino Draco is still pretty good. So
Turns out. Turns
yeah,
out.
still
Still good.
playable in modern.
Not bad. Yeah.
Another deck that's kind of boring but still putting up numbers that actually, if we're still living in a Nadu world for much longer, is probably a great choice. Is Living
Yeah.
End. I mean, I cannot imagine that like Nadu is good against this deck. Like
Look, we
I
got
just
grief, we got subtlety. Yeah. Like
yeah, four
it's
grave, four subtlety, like wrap your
force and
board, kill you.
negation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is just the deck that kills Nadu. I don't want to live in a world where the it's just Nadu versus Living End all day.
Yeah.
That sounds miserable to me, but
Yeah.
you know, there is a deck that beats it technically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I like that some of these decks are coming back, after Living
Yeah.
End took the bullet with the instant speed, violent outburst ban. And I think that like
Right.
overall, if we're moving to the conclusion about all of these tournaments, it's we know what the best deck is. It's 100% Nadu, and but I'm enjoying what decks are coming out of this. And
Right.
when Nadu gets banned or a card in it gets banned, and if it does actually take a hit and become like a tier 1.5 deck or something like that, I'm very curious to see what is going to take its place.
Right. And I mean that's the kind of last thing I want to talk about is like I think and it sounds like you're on the same page, but I'm still having a lot of fun with modern, despite the
Yeah.
fact that it is ostensibly in a really unhealthy place. I
Yeah.
mean, like like I mean, people are still trying a lot of different things. Like leagues aren't like miserable. Like it's not just like five naughty decks in a row you're playing
Yeah.
against, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, I mean,
They
you'll
can't afford
maybe
them.
run
They're too high in ticks.
exactly right. And I think honestly, people are kind of expecting a ban. It is going to suck if they decide to wait till August to do a ban announcement, because basically any tournament is just going to be a bunch of Nadu and it's just going to dominate everything until that happens. But like, as a more like playing it more casually and like not playing any like major tournaments right now, like I'm having a great time.
Yeah, exactly. When November
Yeah.
rolls around, something better change. I got the Apex Gaming Invitational to go to. The only
That's
tournament
true.
I'm going to like this year.
Yeah, and that's the other the another thing I wanted to bring up too is like when you look at a deck like Nadu and like the unhealth like when the metagame becomes unhealthy, like the other impacts of it on the community at large. The Apex series, so they have a tournament in July. Unfortunately, won't be going just because I have a baby coming.
Hey,
So that would not
congratulations.
be. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
But it sucks because a lot of the success of this tournament and how many people show up is dependent on whether or not Nadu gets banned. Like I
that's
can't
true.
imagine people are gonna want to go to this tournament. Which, if you are listening to this and you're in Ohio, please support Apex. They're great. We love them. Tournament
Even if you're
series is
not in
amazing.
Ohio, if you live in California, fly to Apex. Fuck you.
Fly to Apex, dude. Will Hall flew from England to Apex.
And he sat
Okay,
on the couch and watched Dota clips with me. It was amazing.
it was great. It was a great time. Uh, but yeah, it's a great tournament series. But yeah, I mean, this really impacts it, right? Like, I mean, it's 2 days. It's 2 days of modern, and like people are not going to want to go play a tournament where it's just like Nadu over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, so hopefully something changes. Hopefully Wizards takes pretty drastic action. It feels like it's pretty necessary, and I don't think anybody's going to be that upset, except for the one guy on my Facebook Modern group that is like, "Stop the propaganda about Nadu, like
Yeah.
it's fine, like
It's
it's
so
the same
balanced.
as
Like, it's just lands
Bam."
in play. It's not a big deal.
Right. And we're all like, bro, like we know you bought like 8 Shukas for like $200. Like,
And he's hoping it goes up more. And he's like, yeah, yeah, no, 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 don't ban. I need my payday.
right. Um cool. Well,
Yeah.
that's all I had. Did you want to talk about anything else
No,
today
I think
before we
I
sign
think
off?
that's pretty great. I'm very happy with. I'm happy so many tournaments happened at once, and not happy everybody was right about Nadu. But you know what? We're gonna work through it. It's all right. This is Nadu summer, so
Yeah.
you take a
Hopefully
seat.
hopefully it's just the Nadu Pro Tour and we don't have to suffer through it as much.
Mm.
But again, still enjoying Modern, still very exciting to see what's kind of happening. I don't think the format is, you know, minus Nadu. I don't think that the format is solid by any means.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of wide open once we get an inevitable ban there, and hopefully we see that soon.
yeah. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
See you.